Whoop, whoop. So we're live everywhere, and we're getting ready to get started. We are in Zoom, that's where I'm mainly at, but I wanted to make sure I shared it here on Facebook too. All right. Good morning, said Susan. Good morning. I hope your day is awesome. I will tell you guys, can we just talk for a second? We have a minute, we can chat, right? I have been chatting this week with people that have been through Conference QuickBooks, but like people who've been in my community for a little bit. And oh my gosh, if you don't take the time to like check in with the people that you are that you help in some way that are your community, can I just say, take the time to do it? So often I've gotten to the point where I don't always have time to like just chat with you guys. I don't get to, so that's why I'm like, I love being here today. And just, this is kind of about me just being here, being present and having fun with you. That's where I'm at in my life. And so I chatted with one of the ladies yesterday, Lori, and we're going to put it together. You guys can watch it, but she had me in tears. She shared with me about how she was about to give up. I can't talk about it too much because it'll make me cry, but she was working for her church. She, the tax professional who was helping had left. She had taken on, they kept changing her softwares. They kept changing her life. And then she came to QuickBooks and they're like, and now you need to do payroll. And she was like, I don't know how. And she found one of my tips on YouTube. And how she said, I'm just going to give like it one more chance. And that's how she found me. And it helped her in her journey. And how she told me how, I didn't know this, of course, before we chatted yesterday, but that she like was so close to quitting her job, even though she loved her church because she was so overwhelmed with taking care of her numbers. And it hit me like so hard. The whole reason I started teaching online was to make a difference in your life. And it was a good reminder. Okay, I told you I can't talk about it too much or I might cry. I'm very sensitive if you guys don't know this. Like I teach QuickBooks because I love you, not because I like QuickBooks. And so good to see you, Rana in Nebraska, Gwen in Louisiana. All right, so it's time. I said I was going to start on time. I always start on time, but I had to share with you guys that, I don't know, I've been feeling extra sensitive about all of you guys lately and loving you. So I think I'm just at a place in my life I'm really grateful. Okay, moving on. I told you I can't talk too much or I might tear up. Okay, so thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. In today's episode of Q's with Candus, we are going to do a thought of the day because if you've never been to any of my workshops or checked out, I do these usually on Facebook. I always do a thought of the day. I have a brand new deck. I've only used it twice. This is going to be the number 3, the third time's the charm. So we're just breaking this deck in, but this is the How to Love Yourself by Louise Hay. I usually do the Life Loves You deck. This is my new deck. All right. You do a great job and you've helped me a ton. Aw, thank you. Okay. You guys, don't give me too many compliments. I'm feeling sensitive today with all the nice things people have been saying to me lately. Oh, so funny. Okay, what are we meant to hear today? I think I turned down too many lights in my studio. I feel a little shiny. It's Wednesday, right? Can you believe like half the week? Where's the week going? Where is life going? Can you believe it's September? My little guy is turning 2 at the end of the month on Saturday, August 31st, gonna be 2. It's like, where is time going? All right, I accept all of myself is today's card. I love these new cards. It says, the work I do on myself is not a goal. It is a process, a lifetime process. I choose to enjoy the process. I love this card. I've never pulled this card. It's a brand new deck. They're all still new. So thank you for being here. We are going to jump in. Gracie is here and she is going to, the way it's going to work is she's going to share with us the questions that have already been submitted and that the team picked. And we're going to go through those. Gracie says, hi, everybody. Share with us, Gracie, the first question and let's get rolling. There will be a replay. So if you have to leave early, we will timestamp the different questions so that you can go back. We did that with the previous 3. Oh, that's funny. I just realized this is the 3rd time I've used this deck, and this is our Q's with Candus month number 3 or episode number 3. All right, Gracie, let's see the first question, please. Where is she? I don't know. Baltimore, says Renee, welcome. If I didn't say welcome to you, I'm sorry. Thank you for being here. I totally appreciate it. How do I start a new bank account in QuickBooks? Okay, so why would you need a new bank account? Let me, real quick, I want to share my screen. Often I was out doing a workshop yesterday and we started talking about this. So sometimes when you have been using QuickBooks for a while, but you have never reconciled and your bank account gets messed up, sometimes I tell you, depending on the situation, create a new bank account. And people go, well, how do you do that? It's actually super simple. You go up to lists, chart of accounts, go down to the bottom and click new. And then you just click bank account and continue. And then you name it what you name it. Now, I typically teach you to name your bank accounts based off the bank that you bank at if you have more than one, or the last 4 digits of your account number. So if it's a Wells Fargo account, you could type in Wells Fargo, checking, and then you're going to type in like the last 4 digits of the account number. The reason we do this is it makes it a lot easier to find which account you're working in. Okay. If you don't add that and you have more than one Wells Fargo, and then on the other one, you would make it probably inactive. A little tip on how to do that. You're going to right click and make inactive and it disappears. But don't worry if you make it inactive by accident, you can just click include inactive and just recheck it and it's still there. Okay, so that's the first question. What's the next question? Gracie, now, if you guys are like, I have a question, great. I love that you have questions. Today, I probably will not answer them because these questions have already been selected. What a lot of people don't realize is we're getting close to like 1.5 million views on YouTube. And so we get all kinds of questions through that, and then through email and through Facebook. And so what we do is my team collects all of those and puts them in. They track them. And then we go through and we just select a few once a month on our Q's with Candus so that everybody, all of you, can get the answers and get the benefit versus me just always responding to one person doesn't serve everybody. So I will be in the next 2 weeks or so. I'm going to start in September doing lives on a regular basis where I'm teaching specific topics I'm going to have you guys vote on. And then I'll also do some extra calls where I just do like, what's your question? Any question. I do those every few months, usually like a couple times a year. So those are coming up. So if you have a question, Gracie can add your questions to our list for future. Does that make sense? I will ask you, did what I share with you about how to add a bank account make sense? Or if you have any questions about that, you're welcome to answer or ask. But I don't want to go off any question because we could go off random places. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay, so the second question for today, I think we have about 10, is my payroll tax rate table does not let me change my tax rate, my state tax rate percentage. Why is that, and any suggestions? Well, the reason that happens is state is not a flat percentage, at least not in the state of California. I can't speak for every state because I don't actually do taxes, but I can say California. If you go under list, payroll items list, there are places where you can change the percentage. The reason you cannot change the state percentage is it's designed inside the employee screen. When you're setting an employee up, the state is based off what they have for withholdings. So when they fill out their form that says, I have this many withholdings, this is my social security number, this is my address, you plug that in, and then based off how much they get paid, what their withholdings are currently, their tax rate, married or single, all of those go into the equation for federal and for state. And then QuickBooks has tax tables. That's why I love the enhanced payroll, because you don't have to get that little booklet out if you've ever seen it, where it's like, what did they make? And do they get paid monthly, weekly, bi-weekly? What's their withholding? What did they get paid? And then you have to like try to fit, then it has like a little tax table that you go through. But the cool thing about QuickBooks is it does it for you and it updates them. As long as you have a payroll subscription and you do the updates, it will update it. So to answer the question, state withholding is not a flat percentage. It is based off the income level, their tax status, married or single, higher rate, that kind of thing. And then some people can even add their withholding on top of that. Okay, so that's how that works. Does that answer? Did that answer anybody's questions? Did you guys wonder about that? All right, Gracie, go ahead and give us the next question. I have a client who is a construction contractor. They carry a balance with some vendors, like big hardware outlets, for instance. How do I handle that in QuickBooks? As it sits now, it just shows a lot of unpaid bills and a random payment to make that don't match. Okay, so what this person's saying is, I took over a mess of books. And if you're a bookkeeper or you took over somebody else's stuff, that happens all the time. And what her question really is how do I fix my vendor center when it's out of balance? And I'm going to give you some tips, but without seeing it and knowing exactly what you have, I can only give you some ideas. So a couple things to do, and this is something, if I'm based off some of the topics I'm thinking about teaching you guys over the next few weeks, depending on what you vote, we'll dive into this more. So if you go under the vendors and you pull up your accounts payable, aging, you can do a couple different reports. But if you look at the detail, it's going to show you this is my sample file, so I don't have a lot in here, but like anybody who's in here, and if they have credits, it will show you that as well. So what you would need to do is go into your vendor. If the vendor, like you typically are making payments, that's fine. But if it's a mistake, you can click this little drop down arrow if you guys don't know that, if you don't know that, and you can click open with the vendors. And it's going to show you all the people that you owe money to, all the vendors. Vendors are people and places you spend money. So they're going to show you who you owe. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to go over here, and there's a couple different ways I like to look at this. One is all transactions, and then balance detail. And what balance detail will give you is just the ones that you owe money to over here. And you're going to see the ones that have a balance, and then you're going to see payments. And part of what you're going to have to do with this is some due diligence. So if you come into a mess and you're not sure what's going on, a lot of times what it is when somebody went to apply the payment, they selected the wrong bill. So what you need to do is, let me see if I can give you an example. Hold on. Let me move some things around here. So instead of balance, we're going to do all, and I'm just going to find somebody. I'm going to try to show you an example. Okay, so here's an example. It's not a very good one though. Let me see if I have, sorry, I didn't design this. This is live in person. Like, let me try to find something. Okay, we can do this one. So let's say that when you go to look at your balance detail, you see that you start tracking what happens. So you're going to want to grab your statements, you're going to want to grab the file, and you're going to need to do some due diligence. You're going to look for the statement or whatever you have that shows like the bill and the payment. And hopefully the person, if they were using checks or making payments, is attaching that. Does that always happen? No, but like this is the best I can give you of what you would need to do. You would go and you'd find that folder and you'd start going through, and you're going to start going, okay, these bills were paid with this check. Then you go into your vendor center and you look up your check and you open up your check, and your check is going to tell you which bills were paid. I've done this with a lot of private clients, so I'm very familiar with the process of cleaning up. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, oh, wait, that 175 was not for this check, was not for this one. And it's going to change your check dollar amount. So what you want to do is you're going to say, nope, that was for 175. And you're going to keep it at 175. And you can save and close it. Then you're going to go and you're going to adjust all the checks so that everything is only applied to the proper, like the check is only applied to the proper invoice. Now what's going to happen is you still have $150 here that's not been applied because it's not showing you those checks or those invoices, right? It doesn't show you the bill. So what you have to do is you have to kind of go through and remove almost all of it, and then go back and open that check back up. And because now you've done that with a bunch, there will be more invoices sitting in there. Then you can go back and you can start selecting the proper ones that it actually gets applied to. Does that make sense? Without actually like having a prime example and showing you how to like reapply it, just trust you need to open up the original check and change where it applies. So I'm just actually going to do it, even though they're applied properly. I'm going to show you what you would do. So Today's call might go a little extra long because I picked some questions I thought you guys would get some good value out of. Okay, so we leave it at 175 and we basically are not applying these. This is a workaround. This is a fix. This is how do you, this is advanced stuff. Okay. So if you're like, I'm not ready for advanced, that's okay. This is like a tutorial. Okay. So we're going to click yes. I'm not going to worry about that. Yes. Save all that. Then let's do, is recorded? Yes. Just do it. Yes. It gives you warnings because it doesn't want you to mess something up. Okay. Oh, you know, did it keep it at the same? Let me see. Yeah. Maybe I need to read the thing, even though I'm talking to you. If you don't want to save any changes, click no. Yes, I want to save changes. Oh, but you know what it did? It changed the dollar amount. So let me change this back to 175. That's why I didn't like it, because it's like, this is reconciled. Okay, so the point is you remove it, then it will still show that you paid 175, but these are now available. Then you go into the other checks. You're gonna have to do this for all the checks that are a problem. And you're gonna go 150 went to this. Yep, that one's right. And you're gonna have like a bunch of them. Then you're gonna go back in and the checks will then be available. The correct invoices, this is just a sample, but your correct one. So they could be one, because sometimes what people do is they just start pulling old stuff. Like a new bookkeeper will go, I'm just going to say I'm paying that really, really old stuff, even though that's not what they're actually paying. So this is how you fix it. You actually have to go in, remove it, find the correct one and apply it. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, Gracie. That's what you would, that is how you would clean your books up. You would make sure it's done properly. Now, could I tell you, just create a credit memo and shove it in there, do a journal entry and shove it in there. It won't fix your problem. Journal entry won't fix it because it'll still show when you go to pay bills, things are wrong because it wasn't done right. Sometimes the best way to do things is not the shortcut. It's the longer route that's done properly, in my opinion. Okay. All right. Let's see. So if I would have left the ones, I didn't realize it changed the dollar amount. You want to make sure that when you do this, that you keep this at 175 so it doesn't affect your reconciliation, which is why it was giving me a hard time. You want to make sure that even though you unmark these, you still say that they paid 175. Now, this is a workaround. This is perfect. No, what's perfect is it got done right the first time, but this is a workaround. And if you accidentally reconcile it and you're like, oh, now my reconciliation's off, you can still do the workaround for the reconciliation, which is, so see, it lets you save it and then save and close it. You want to keep it the same. You would go in, and I've taught this to you guys before. I don't want to get too far off what today's training topics are, but you keep the same dollar amount. You go in and you just find if your 175 was in here because it got messed up, you would select it again. But it didn't mess it up because we kept the same. If you keep the same dollar amount, it won't mess it up. It's just unselecting the wrong invoices so that you can apply the right ones. It's always great to get validation that I'm doing things correctly. Yay, that's cute. Okay. All right, let's see if Gracie gave me the next question. All right, put in the next question for me, Gracie. Brenda said, I had to fix a company for over 3 years. Ugh, it was daunting. Yeah. What happens if the invoices were paid by a credit card, not a check? It's the same concept. So with a credit card, you have two options. You can do credit card through pay bills, and it pays it if it's entered as a bill. Otherwise, you could do it as enter credit card charges, right? So it depends which way, but the concept's the same. Basically, what this person is saying is, I have a ton of invoices, like lots of invoices, and payments, but they're not applied properly, and I don't know how to fix it. You need to go back and do your due diligence and then make sure that the check is applied to, and go in and like, it takes time. It takes skill too, if I was being completely honest with you. I go in and I just start like moving things around and redoing, and people are like, I trust you. And in the end, they're like, I can't believe you fixed that. How do you know how to do this stuff? I'm like, I've been teaching QuickBooks for 13 years. You learn a few things. And I say that with, be patient with yourself if you get a little frustrated, and always remember when you're trying to fix something, don't take the shortcut, and one step at a time. Okay. When I send so this is the next question. When I send invoices out, when I send out invoices through email, it shows the date that I sent out as the date it's due. And they're wondering, why is that happening? Without seeing it, I can't give you 100% answer. But what I think is happening is when you create an invoice over here, you have a terms. If you don't give them terms, it's net due. It's like due upon receipt, probably. So this person probably hasn't set up terms for their different clients. So then when they send out an email, QuickBooks is defaulting the due date for invoice. Because like if you don't say, hey, QuickBooks, I give these people 30 days. I give 2% if they pay in 10, net 30, you know, that kind of thing, like the different options if you give discounts or not. If you don't tell QuickBooks that, it's going to go due upon receipt. And so when you email it, it's going to say it's due right now. Does that make sense? I think that's what's happening for this person based off the question. Some of it I have to assume because I don't actually get to like chat with you. But if that's the case, change your terms to what you actually are offering your customers for terms so that QuickBooks can match that in the email. All right. Go ahead, Gracie, and give us the next question. How do I use income in QuickBooks, which is a kind of vague question. But this is one of the things I love to teach on my Getting Started with QuickBooks workshop. If you haven't attended, I highly recommend it. I'm not sure when the next one is. Oh, I think we're doing some in September. So you can go to candacekamper.com/workshop. Gracie can put that in. But if you haven't, this is what we teach, what I teach, which is how do you use income? Which is, like I said, a big question. I always tell you, think about the end in mind. If you've been to my workshop, you know I talk about that. You pull a profit and loss. If you don't know how, it's reports, company financial profit and loss standard. And then you want to design QuickBooks around what do you want to see. So when it says, how do I use income? There's a lot to that question, but one is tracking, deciding what you want your reports to look like so that you can get the things you need to manage your business. And the way these numbers come from is from your chart of accounts. It's how you design your QuickBooks. That's one way. Now, how do you enter your income? I teach there as well, which is you can use invoices, sales receipts, or go directly to your income. Each of these gives you a different result, right? Like creating an invoice creates accounts receivable, and then your customers pay you later if you follow the line. Sales receipts takes your payment and the details all at one time. And if you go directly to record deposit, you're putting your income directly to an income category. So it's all based off what the end result is that you need. Without knowing more of the facts of like, how do you apply QuickBooks for your specific business? That's a whole nother question, and I need a lot more facts. How do I properly account for upfront deposits in 1 year of service for the next? Great question, Laura. You need to create a liability account. I'll have Gracie add your question to our questions. And when I do some live Q&As where I answer any question, make sure you like put your little notification on Facebook or whatever, or get on our emails. And I'll let you guys know when I'm gonna be doing this, because I will do any question goes in a couple weeks. All right, what's the next question, Gracie? Let's see. Can you move the placement of the payment stamp status? Okay, so do you guys know when you go to like QuickBooks does the past due or whatever, or paid, it looks like this. I'll show you what they're talking about. So the person's asking like, this paid stamp is very inconvenient and I want to move it. And a lot of things you can move with QuickBooks. You can customize the template. We've talked about that before. I also have videos on that on my YouTube and on my blog. But unfortunately, QuickBooks does not allow you to move the stamp. Now, when you're setting up your templates, you can remove it all together if you really don't like it. Down here under the template, so you go, there's a couple different ways to get there, but list templates, pick the template that you customize because you've learned how, hopefully from me. And if not, it's time to customize it. You can click on this print your stamp status. You can uncheck it. So like if it really bothers you, remove it. And then, so they have a couple different, so this is like past due is the upper one. And then print status stamp is more like pending, paid. So there's kind of like past due, and then there's a paid stamp. So you can choose if you want those or not. And you just check them or uncheck them. All right, Gracie, does that make sense? Did you guys know that that was an option? Let me know in the chat. Greasy, let me know what the next question is. Unfortunately, cannot remove. You can remove it, but you can't choose to move where it shows up. It's not something they have given us the opportunity to do yet, but a lot of people complain about it. Bob, I think, is asking a question, Gracie, so maybe you can add that to our list. When I sent out a statement to my customer with several invoices due, the balance will show from previous months, even though a specific invoice is paid. It's all how you set up, Bob. The short answer is it's all how you set up your statement, and there's settings. But I'll have Gracie add it, and we can talk about the settings on another call with how to do it. All right. Gracie, the next question is, can you print all your checks at the same time? Oh, yes. Okay, so I did some due diligence for you guys on this question. Okay, so the question is, I have a bunch of checks that are old or checks that I'm doing, and I want to print them. How do I do it? This is what you do. You can click print checks right here. The thing is that typically, if they're old checks, oh, you pick it by like bank account. So when you go here and you click print checks, you have like each different kind of bank, and if there's any in there, they show up. So here's an example of a few. The thing to know is a couple things. One, if you just go print this, you're going to print a ton of paper. It's kind of a waste. There's a workaround, a couple workarounds. Now, if you're like, I actually do need to print a bunch of checks at once, how do I do that? Then you're going to click this print checks and you're going to print them. But if you actually paid it through ATM, but you didn't realize there's like the print check button was selected. So when you're writing checks, there's this little thing right here that says print later. And it does this little to be printed. If you unmark that, then you can choose to type in whatever you want, and the to be printed will not be showing up. But if you don't know that because you haven't watched one of my videos, like you don't know because nobody told you, right? Like everything about QuickBooks is just somebody sharing with you there's a possibility of something different, right? Like you didn't know there was anything else. You can do two things. One, you can print them here, like we talked about, by selecting the correct bank account. In my example, I have a lot of bank accounts because I'm teaching all the time. But what you can do instead of wasting paper is you can actually go into your check register for that account and find the checks. Now, there's basically two ways you could do this. You could actually just click print, find your bank account, and like literally write each thing down. That's one. Or if you're like, hey, Candus, isn't there a report I can print? Yes, actually, there's a few different ways you can get to it, but this is one. You can go under reports, custom reports, transaction detail. And you can, sorry, my little chat box is in the way. You can go over to filters, type in print at the top so you don't have to scroll through and find it. Click printed status and click to be printed and click OK. And then you're going to want to choose all dates. This is going to show you everything. So in this one, I didn't go through and like customize transaction type. You can do that with customize, like that you only want checks. But here are our checks right here. So we can, this is another way to find them. These are some little sample ones that I've done at some point for training. So we say, okay, we got this check and we have this check, and you could print yourself a report. If you only want a specific type of transaction, you could also add an additional filter for just checks, right? Then you would find these checks. You could actually double click on them and just take off to be printed. And then you can type in your number. That's one way to do it. The other way that you could, that's the, in my opinion, like that's the fastest. You don't have to print the report. You can just like open them up and take care of them right here. There is one other thing though you can do, or if you're already in the check register and you're looking through and you happen to find them and you're like, why does that say to be printed? I don't have any I need to print. You can go to put in the amount if you know it because you did it on the search or you find it. Then you'll see it right here in the register. You can actually just type over top of that or delete it all together and the to be printed will be removed. and you can just click record. Okay, so you don't have to have a number there. You can leave it blank. But if you do have a check number or you used ATM, you can just like type that in as well. Okay, that's a long answer. Today, I noticed today I'm elaborating more on like all the options. Do you guys like it? Are you getting value? Let me know. Why doesn't QuickBooks print post-dated checks? I'm not sure what that means. What do you mean by post-dated? Like in the future? Great. Oh, good. Bob's like, thank you. Yes, you're welcome. We will get to your question. My invoices don't show lines any longer. That's a setting. We'll add that to the list. Believe me, we could be here all day just answering miscellaneous questions. Gracie, go ahead and give me the next question. I'm serious, so let me know. You guys learning something? Christine said, the more details you give, the better. I could go on rants all day. I have to kind of like bring myself back because I'm like, oh, I could tell you this and I could tell you that. I could tell you this and I could tell you that. And I just get a little excited. Tammy says, love the details. Okay, we have so the next question is, we have a handful of expenses that we paid with cash that are already deposited. The cash was, okay, so they're talking about customers. We have received money, cash from our customers that they basically already used, they've deposited, but the cash has been spent. However, what do we do with those? Okay, so the summary of the question is, if our customers pay us and then we use that money for something else, how do we handle that? You don't want a shortcut. Remember earlier, I'm like, don't take shortcuts, do step by step. So you're going to have an invoice or a sales receipt. They're going to pay you. It's going to then typically sit in undeposited funds, which we love now that we understand how to use it, like a bank bag. And we're going to then record our deposit. We're going to take all the different payments and record them. Maybe if it's cash payments, once a month, once a week, we record them, whatever it is. So let's use this one as an example, $1,000. Now, if you typically tend to take your cash and you use it for something else, you have two ways you can track it. You can do it actually directly from inside the deposit screen. You can like track it back to like where it goes. In here, you can technically say that you went to, let me see if I can find something I want to say. It's going to be a vendor because vendor are the people and places you spend money. Let's say we use some of our cash. We gave it to our employees and they went to Home Depot and they used it for job supplies and they used $500. Technically, you can do it like that. Is it the best way to do it for the best amount of detail? No, but it's an option. Okay, it's one way to do it. Or like say it was an owner draw, you can put it back to like the owner kept the money. But the better way, the way I would teach you if you really want to track it and do it properly, would be to deposit your cash from your customer to like a petty cash account. Create a new bank account. We talked about how to create a new bank account, but you would just do it as at the beginning of this call. So you would just do it as petty cash. Then you would record it to petty cash, save and close it, go into your petty cash register or write a check from your petty cash. And as you're using your petty cash, you would then spend it out, right? So Home Depot, $500. What did you buy it for? And you could add the job that it goes to if you do it this way. So you get better reporting and you can see your money go in and your money go out and how your cash was actually used. If you're taking the cash from your customers using for expense, this, in my opinion, is the best and proper way to do it. Okay. All right. Gracie, hit me with the next one, please. What's the next question? Did that make sense? Did you guys like see that? That's where I'm talking about not taking shortcuts, taking the time to enter. And technically, you really want to track for IRS purposes who's paid you. And then you also want to track your expenses so you can write them off and have accurate numbers. All right, let's see what the next one is. I see other questions. So how do I rearrange profit and loss statement report? For example, I want to move my interest from the top. I will have Gracie add your question because this is how do I customize my chart of accounts? Because your chart of accounts equal your profit and loss. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. How do you move your things around? It's all about designing your chart of accounts around your specific business, which is what I love. It's like the special sauce, I think, of how I teach, which is design QuickBooks around your business, not just assume that you have to do it one way. You can customize it, right? Okay, so Gracie, add that question to our list and we will add it for the future questions. How do I delete a deposit? I gave a customer a credit in my books and need to revert. This is the question Gracie's giving us that we've pre-picked. How do you delete a deposit? And if you gave your customer a credit and now you need to remove it, how do you do that? In other words, this person was having a hard time with knowing how to remove transactions out of QuickBooks. So her first question was, I invoice, let me just check, make sure. How do I delete a deposit? Okay, yeah, so people a lot of times, they go, I don't know how to remove a deposit, Candus. So what you wanna do is you either find it in the check register, so you go into your check register, to your bank account, you find your deposit, let's just say it was this one, you open it up, that's one way to do it. And then you just go up here to edit, because a lot of people don't see it in the screen they're in and they don't realize you can go over to edit and you can delete it. I highly recommend typically if you're going to remove transactions, it's just better to void them than delete them. But if you go under edit, that's where you're going to find how you can void a deposit. Now, if you've already deposited it and reconciled it, then most likely removing the deposit isn't the right way to handle cleaning it up. It might mean that you need to like switch things out, which is a whole more detailed training. But if you just want to know, which is the question, how do I remove a deposit? That's how you do it. The other way you can find a deposit is to go under record deposit, hit the back, you can just hit cancel, hit the back arrow and you can find your deposits that way as well. If it's like a recent one that you've recently done. Otherwise, you can go to the check register to find those. And then the second part of the question was, I also have a credit memo. How do I remove that? Same thing. You find your credit memo, either go into the customer center, go through the transactions for the customer, find them. Let me show you what that looks like. I think it makes more sense when I show you than when I just try to tell you. So you can go to your customer center, you can come down and you're going to click on all transactions, balance detail, or you can click on just credit memos if you want. It will show you based off what you select. You double click on that credit memo. And then if you made a mistake and you gave your client a credit that you don't want anymore, you can void it from this little drop down, or you can go over to edit and void as well. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Can you set up QuickBooks to be more than one computer at the same time with live usage on both users? Yes, there are options for that. Jen, there's some different software. So basically, if you're a desktop user to make that work, you would need something where the thing sits. See, I'm answering questions, but it's where it sits. Okay, Gracie, add that question so that we can do it in the future. Is there a way to remove the title cash or accrual on your open balance reports? Yes, it's a setting. Gracie, add that one too. I'm telling you, we could just spend all day answering questions. Does money loaned to a line of credit appear on your profit and loss? Lisa, I'm going to quickly answer your question. No, that's a balance sheet item because it's a liability. But Gracie, add that to our list too, because part of this is mindset, guys. You're asking a question, but there's so much more behind your question that you need to know. Like, why does a line of credit not show up on my P&L? Well, because it's not really an expense. It's really somebody you owe money back to, which shows up on your balance sheet. So the reason I don't want to answer all these questions right now is because I want to give you the amount of time where I can serve you and give you like a full answer to your question versus just a snippet. That's my goal. All right, so, all right, great question. So this is one Gracie is giving me, which is there a way QuickBooks helps you to prevent paying a bill twice? Okay, so it's common that people accidentally enter bills twice, or like a bookkeeper will come in and the previous bookkeeper, she starts looking at the work. Maybe this has been you and you're like, how did they enter the same thing twice? Well, a couple things. They weren't maybe paying attention to the warnings QuickBooks gives you, or they did and didn't know what they meant. So when you pick a vendor, so let's just say this is Ace Hardware, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to save it. Oh, see, look there's an example. I didn't even do that on purpose. I was gonna save it and then do it again. See how it says another bill already has this number. The key to using bills and keep from duplicating or entering something twice is to use the account number or some way to reference it every single time, so that if you go to enter something, it automatically reminds you like, don't do that. We already have that number. QuickBooks will give you the same warning with like checks and different things where you put a number in. It's helping you, it's looking for them. So if that will help you, if you start using, if you're going to use bills, use the reference number and have a system. So like, if for some reason that company doesn't have one on there, maybe you do like the year and the month or something. You figure out your own system, create a system, and then use it every time. And then it will warn you if you go to do it. And then if you're like, wait, I didn't think I entered that, stop what you're doing, take a moment, reflect on your stuff, go into the vendor center, look up that person, and then look up that bill, and you'll be like, oh, I guess I did enter that bill already. Or wait, that's not that wasn't the right number. And then go and do the research, but you're less likely to have mistakes if you enter the number. And then if it does warn you, you don't just push through and enter it anyway. You go and look and see what's going on and why there may be that number already exists for that specific vendor. It's not going to say 1, 2, 3, 4 exists for all these other vendors. It's only that one specific vendor that you're working with. All right. Did you guys learn something? Did you have fun? All these extra questions with the billing being paid twice, I've done with some of my clients. They don't enter the bill. Yeah, they write a check. That's a different story. So that comes back to what I teach in my Getting Started QuickBooks workshop, which is you need to follow the system of how QuickBooks is designed. If you enter a bill and then you come down here and write a check, yes, it's going to allow you to duplicate it because you're not sticking to the system of how the software is designed because you don't know any different. If you use enter bills, you have to use pay bills. It's a two-step process. Can you go down and write checks? Yes, but you need to remove the bill from the enter bills because when you enter bill, it increases your expense. It also increases accounts payable. When you write a check, it increases the expense and then it decreases it from your bank account. Okay, so in the bank account, under banking, it takes care of the bank account and the expense all at once. Under vendors, it takes care of the expense category and accounts payable. Then when you pay it, it removes it from accounts payable and removes it from the money out of your bank. Okay, so a lot of those mistakes are happening because you don't fully understand how to utilize QuickBooks. And QuickBooks has a way to do things like, if you do this, you got to do that. But sometimes you don't know that. That's why I'm here to help you with those things. All right, perfect. So how do you enter a credit card chargeback? Those are a lot of great questions. Candus, do you mind downloading the chat from the call? I don't think I can because I'm not a panelist. Okay, great. So we'll add, we will do that. Let me add Gracie real quick. Did you guys learn something? Let me know. I am glad you're here. I appreciate your time, energy for being here. I always like to, I'll tell you a couple things. One, we're going to be posting on Facebook and I'll probably try to email it out too. I'd love to do some just live trainings with you guys so I had some ideas on topics. Some of them have been like, Gracie, can you quickly put in our chat some of the topics that we were discussing this morning for ideas for future trainings over the next couple of weeks? I know one of them off the top of my head is how to communicate with your clients or yourself, like how to design QuickBooks around your specific needs, some of the things to consider. I know that was one of them. I think I'm trying to remember some of the other topics. Thank you, Candus. This is my first time using Zoom. It was great. Oh, yay. I'm glad you liked it. How come the questions of how to record prepayment questions does not get answered? So Vicky, the way this works is we have hundreds of questions that have already been submitted through our YouTube, email, Facebook, all different formats. And so what we're doing is we're taking those questions and the ones that have been submitted we'll add in. And then the team goes through and we go, okay, these would be 10 good questions that would serve the overall community. But I'm not answering just any question today because we could be here for like 3 hours if I went through each one and answered them fully. And then we take these trainings and we put them on YouTube so that you guys can watch them, and on my blog, so you guys can watch them and get the answers in the future as well when you need them. And we go through the questions and we timestamp at what time I answered them, so you can watch them. So some of the questions, some of the topics I'm thinking about teaching live are mindset, the things you need to know to grow your bookkeeping business so you love it, to love your bookkeeping business and grow it. The questions to answer when designing QuickBooks for yourself or your clients, getting started with reports. So that's a common question, like, how do I even get started? Where do I go? Understanding the report center, those kinds of things. And then another one I'm thinking about doing is mistakes to look for now so that you're ready for tax time. It's basically going through and reviewing your QuickBooks. Just added the repayment, and I don't know what that means. And if you ask if you want to give them a credit, hint, yes. That means, Renee. I don't think I saw the whole conversation. So thank you for being here. We love you being here. I love getting to answer your questions. She said yes. So there must be like a little conversation going on in the chat. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of my community. And if you have questions, I said this earlier, but if you are just tuning in, I will be doing just random, whatever questions you guys have over the next few weeks. And thank you for being here. So if you want to make sure you don't miss, make sure if you're on Facebook that you hit the notifications. And if you get my emails already, great, I'll let you guys know. And I'll also send out the survey so you can fill them out. Let me know which of these topics you like the most and what you would like to learn. And if you want to learn something that I didn't cover, let me know that too. We'll be adding trainings. So random little trainings here and there, because I like to do them live, because then I can say, does that make sense? And you can say yes, or can you clarify this? All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. If you aren't already getting our tips, it's pretty easy. You can just go to canduskampfer.com/tips, TIPS. And you can join, or if you just go to my website, there's a place for you to join our tips and you'll know about everything we have coming up. Today's thought of the day was, I accept all of myself. The work I do on myself is not a goal. It is a process, a lifetime process. I choose to enjoy the process. In other words, when you're learning something new, when you're making changes in your life, don't think of it as like, if I just get there, everything will be better. Life is always growing and we're always growing. So be kind and patient with yourself. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. As always, I will see you soon. I am going to give you back your energy, attention, and focus so that you can go on throughout your day. And I'm going to take back my energy, attention, and focus. And again, thank you so much for being here. I will see you soon.